Tom Anderson lived alone in his small apartment on the outskirts of New York. He was a regular guy who fixed computers for a living, spending most of his free time playing video games and watching old sci-fi movies. His life was simple, maybe even boring, but he liked it that way. That all changed on a cold Tuesday evening in November. Tom was heating up leftover pizza when a bright purple light filled his kitchen. At first, he thought it was just headlights from a passing car, but then the light began to spin and twist in impossible ways. Before he could even think about running, there was a loud pop, and suddenly, he wasn't alone anymore. Standing in his kitchen was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. She was tall, with skin that seemed to shimmer like pearls and hair that floated as if underwater. Her eyes were deep purple, matching the light that had brought her. She wore what looked like a silver jumpsuit covered in tiny blinking lights. "Perfect specimen," she said in perfect English, though her voice had a strange musical quality to it. "Strong build, acceptable intelligence levels, and..." She paused to sniff the air, "decent genetic makeup." Tom dropped his pizza slice. What are you?" The woman smiled, showing teeth that were just a bit too white, too perfect. "I am Lisa from the Galactic Council. And you, Tom Anderson, have been selected for a very special program." "How do you know my name?" Tom backed away until he hit the counter. "What program?" Lisa walked closer, her movements too smooth to be human. "Earth has caught the attention of the Galactic Council. Your species is interesting. We've been watching, studying, and now it's time for the next phase of our research." "Research?" Tom's voice cracked. He tried to sound brave, but his hands were shaking. "Yes. You see, humans are unique in the galaxy. Most species evolve through logic and careful planning. But humans?" She laughed, a sound like tinkling bells. "You evolved through chaos, emotion, and what you call gut feelings. It's fascinating." Tom found himself relaxing slightly, despite the strangeness of the situation. Maybe it was her voice, or maybe it was just shock, but he stopped trembling. "And what does that have to do with me?" Lisa's smile widened. "I need a test subject. Someone to help me understand human emotions, human responses, human everything. The council has approved my request to study one human up close. Very close. You want to study me? Like a lab rat?" Tom felt his fear returning. "Oh no, nothing so crude." Lisa waved her hand, and a holographic screen appeared in the air. "Think of it more as a cultural exchange. You'll teach me about humans, and in return, I'll show you wonders beyond your imagination." Tom should have said no. He should have run. But there was something in her eyes, something that made him want to trust her. Plus, if aliens were real and wanted to study humans, wasn't it his duty to represent Earth well? "What exactly would this involve?" he asked carefully. Lisa's expression turned predatory. "Simple. You'll come live with me in my home. I'll provide for all your needs, study your responses to various situations, and learn about human behavior firsthand." "Live with you? But what about my job? My life here? Time works differently where I'm from. When our study is complete, I can return you to this exact moment if you wish." She paused, then added, "Of course, you might not want to return once you've experienced what I can offer." Tom looked around his small kitchen, at the half-eaten pizza and the pile of unwashed dishes. His life wasn't bad, but it wasn't exactly exciting either. And here was an actual alien offering him the chance to see things no human had ever seen. "If I say yes," he said slowly, "you promise you won't hurt me?" Lisa placed her hand over her chest. "I swear by the Galactic Council that no permanent harm will come to you. You'll be my guest, my test subject, my..." She paused, searching for the right word, "my house puppy." "You're what?" Tom blinked in confusion. "Oh, you'll understand soon enough." Lisa held out her hand. "So, what do you say, Tom Anderson? Ready for an adventure?" Tom looked at her hand, then back at his ordinary kitchen. He thought about all the sci-fi movies he'd watched, all the times he'd wished for something extraordinary to happen in his life. This was his chance. He took her hand. The purple light returned, brighter than before, wrapping around them both like a cocoon. Tom felt a tugging sensation in his stomach, like being on a roller coaster that just dropped over the edge. The last thing he saw was Lisa's triumphant smile before everything went white. Tom Anderson had no idea what he'd just agreed to, but he was about to find out that being someone's house puppy meant something very different to an alien scientist than it did to humans. And Lisa? She was about to learn that humans were even more interesting than she'd imagined. The adventure was just beginning. When Tom opened his eyes, he found himself in a room that defied everything he knew about architecture. The walls seemed to breathe, shifting colors from soft blue to gentle pink. The ceiling was a dome of what looked like living stars, twinkling and moving in patterns he couldn't understand. "Welcome to my home," Lisa said, standing beside him. "Or rather, our home now." Tom tried to stand but felt oddly heavy, like his body weighed twice as much as normal. "Why can't I?" he started to ask. "Oh, silly me." Lisa touched something on her wrist, and suddenly Tom felt normal again. "I forgot to adjust the gravity settings for your Earth-based physiology." "Better?" He nodded, finally managing to get to his feet. The floor beneath him was soft but firm, like walking on memory foam. "This is incredible." "This is just the entry chamber," Lisa said, clearly pleased by his reaction. "Wait until you see the rest. But first, we need to get you properly settled." She led him through a doorway that appeared in the wall as they approached. The new room looked like a cross between a doctor's office and a spa, with strange machines lining the walls and the large, floating examination table in the center. "Strip, please," Lisa said casually, as if she'd asked him to pass the salt. Tom's face turned red. "What? No way." Lisa tilted her head, studying his reaction with obvious interest. "Fascinating. Human modesty responses are even stronger than our research suggested. Don't worry, Tom. This is purely scientific. I need to get baseline readings of your physical condition. Can't you do that with my clothes on? The scanners work better with direct access to skin. Besides," she smiled that too perfect smile again, "as my house puppy, you'll need to get used to following instructions." There was something in her voice that made Tom want to obey, even as his mind screamed at him to run. But where would he run to? He was literally in an alien house, possibly not even on Earth anymore. Slowly, reluctantly, he removed his clothes, trying to maintain some dignity by covering himself with his hands. Lisa circled him, holding up a small device that emitted soft beeps. "Excellent physical condition for your species, though your muscle density could use improvement. We'll work on that." "What do you mean, work on that?" Instead of answering, Lisa pressed something on her wrist device. A beam of light surrounded Tom, and suddenly his skin tingled all over. When the light faded, he found himself wearing a silver bodysuit similar to Lisa's, but without the blinking lights. "Your new uniform," she explained. "It monitors your vital signs, adjusts to temperature changes, and—" She paused, grinning, "helps me keep track of you." "Keep track of me? Like a GPS?" "Something like that." Lisa walked to one of the machines and pressed several buttons. "Now, let's establish some ground rules. First, you will address me as Mistress or Ma'am. Second, you will follow all instructions promptly and without argument. Third, you will submit to all tests and experiments without resistance." Tom felt his heart rate spike. "And if I don't?" Lisa's purple eyes gleamed. The suit you're wearing can produce various sensations. Some very pleasant, others, less so. It's up to you which you experience more often. To demonstrate, she touched her wrist device. Instantly, Tom felt a wave of pleasure wash over him, like being wrapped in warm sunshine. Then it changed to a sharp pinch all over his body, not exactly painful but definitely uncomfortable. That was the lowest setting, Lisa said calmly. Shall we try a higher one? No. Tom said quickly. I mean, no, ma'am. Good boy. The praise shouldn't have made him feel good, but somehow it did. Now, would you like to see where you'll be sleeping? She led him to another room, this one smaller and cozy. There was a large cushion on the floor, covered in what looked like the softest material Tom had ever seen. Next to it was a bowl with his name etched on it in glowing letters. You're not serious, he said, forgetting the rules in his shock. I'm not actually going to eat from a. The pinching sensation returned, stronger this time. Tom yelped. What did we say about arguing? Lisa's voice was stern but amused. You're my house puppy now, Tom. The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be. As if to prove her point, she touched her device again, and Tom felt that wonderful warm sensation return. His legs went weak, and he found himself sinking onto the cushion, which was even softer than it looked. Good boy, Lisa said again, and again Tom felt a surge of pleasure at the praise. Rest now. Tomorrow, we begin our real work. As she left the room, Tom tried to fight against the peaceful feeling washing over him. This was crazy. He was a grown man, not a pet. He needed to find a way out of this situation. But the cushion was so soft, and that warm feeling from the suit was so nice. Maybe he could just rest for a bit. Figure out an escape plan later. As Tom drifted off to sleep, he didn't notice the slight shimmer in the air around him, or the way the suit's lights pulsed in rhythm with his breathing. He didn't know that even now, Lisa's machines were gathering data, analyzing his responses, and preparing for tomorrow's tests. The human experiment had begun, and Lisa was already learning more than she'd hoped. But Tom? Tom was about to learn that being a house puppy was just the beginning of his transformation. Tom woke to the sound of soft chimes. His first thought was that it had all been a dream, but the shifting colors of the walls quickly proved otherwise. He was still in Lisa's alien home, still wearing the silver bodysuit, still lying on the impossibly soft cushion. Good morning, house puppy, Lisa's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Time for your morning routine. The bowl next to his cushion filled itself with what looked like blue cereal. Despite his determination to resist, Tom's stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since that half-slice of pizza back on Earth. Go ahead, Lisa said, materializing in the doorway. It's specially formulated for your nutritional needs. Tom sat up but didn't move toward the bowl. I can't. This is too weird. I'm not actually going to eat from a. The suit activated, sending sharp pins and needles through his body. This time, the sensation didn't stop quickly. The longer you resist, the longer the discomfort continues, Lisa said calmly, making notes on a floating screen. Fascinating how humans cling to their dignity even when it causes them pain. After 30 seconds, Tom couldn't take it anymore. He crawled to the bowl and, face burning with shame, began to eat. The blue cereal tasted like everything good he'd ever eaten, all at once. Good boy, Lisa praised, and the suit rewarded him with that wonderful warm feeling. See how simple life can be when you obey. After breakfast, Lisa led Tom to a large circular room. The walls were covered in screens showing different Earth animals, dogs, cats, birds, even dolphins. Today's lesson is about loyalty, Lisa announced. Humans keep pets for companionship and entertainment. Now you'll help me understand what it feels like to be on the other side of that relationship. I thought this was supposed to be research, Tom protested. How is treating me like a pet scientific? Lisa's purple eyes sparkled. Everything is data. Your resistance, your emotional responses, the way your brain chemistry changes with each reward and punishment, it's all valuable information. For instance. She pressed something on her wrist, and Tom felt an overwhelming urge to kneel. His legs buckled despite his best efforts to remain standing. Your suit connects directly to your nervous system, Lisa explained. It can influence your actions while measuring every response. Right now, your brain is flooding with chemicals that make you want to submit, to obey. Fighting it only makes the effect stronger. Tom tried to stand, but his body refused to cooperate. Worse, part of him didn't want to fight it. The warm, peaceful feeling was returning, stronger than ever. Stop fighting. He managed to say through gritted teeth. I've had other test subjects, Lisa said, walking circles around him. None lasted more than a day before accepting their role. But you're different. Stronger. More stubborn. It makes the data so much more interesting. She knelt beside him, running her fingers through his hair. The touch sent shivers down his spine, and not entirely unpleasant ones. Tell me, Tom. What does it feel like? The struggle between your human pride and the suit's influence? Describe it for my research. Tom wanted to tell her to go to hell, but the words that came out were different. It's like fighting sleep when you're exhausted. The more you fight, the harder it gets, and part of you just wants to give in. Excellent observation. Lisa made more notes on her floating screen. Now, let's try something new. She snapped her fingers, and a glowing circle appeared on the floor. Go sit in the circle, she commanded. Tom's body began crawling toward the circle before his mind could even process the order. This time, the suit's influence was too strong to fight. Once he reached the circle, he sat obediently, hating himself for how good it felt to comply. Perfect, Lisa said. Now, we'll work on commands. When I say, stay, you'll remain in place until I say otherwise. When I say, come, you'll come to my side. Simple enough, yes? I won't. Tom started to protest, but Lisa was already moving away. Stay, she commanded firmly. Tom watched in horror as she walked to the far side of the room, his body frozen in place despite his desperate desire to move. She stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, making notes and occasionally glancing at him with that predatory smile. Finally, she called out, come. His body moved instantly, crawling across the floor to her feet. The suit flooded him with pleasure as a reward. Good boy, Lisa praised, patting his head. You're learning so quickly. Soon, you won't even need the suit's encouragement to obey. It will feel natural, right, even pleasurable. Never, Tom gasped, but even he could hear the uncertainty in his voice. Lisa laughed. Oh, Tom. Don't you understand? The training has already begun. Even now, your brain is rewiring itself, creating new pathways that associate obedience with pleasure and resistance with discomfort. It's beautiful to watch, really. The human brain is so adaptable. She was right, Tom realized with growing horror. Even as she spoke, he found himself leaning into her touch, craving more of that warm, peaceful feeling the suit provided when he obeyed. Ready for the next lesson? Lisa asked, though they both knew it wasn't really a question. As Tom looked up at her, he saw his reflection in her purple eyes. He barely recognized himself, on his knees, docile, obedient. But the scariest part? A small, growing part of him was starting to like it. A week had passed in Lisa's alien home, though Tom couldn't be sure if time moved the same way here. Each day brought new tests, new commands, and new battles between his will and the suit's influence. Today was different. When Tom woke up, he felt clearer, stronger. The suit's constant hum of control seemed weaker, like static on a bad radio signal. "Morning, house puppy," Lisa's voice rang out. "Ready for today's tests?" Tom crawled to his bowl as usual, but this time he noticed something. Every time Lisa gave a command, there was a slight delay before the suit activated. A weakness in the system? "Actually," he said carefully, "I was hoping we could talk about the research. You know, scientist to test subject?" Lisa appeared, looking pleased. "Interesting request. Very well. What would you like to discuss?" "I've been wondering about your other test subjects. The ones who gave in after one day. Were they human too?" "Oh no," Lisa laughed. "Various species, but none as fascinating as humans. Your capacity for resistance is remarkable." As she talked, Tom noticed her guard dropping. She loved explaining things, showing off her knowledge. He could use that. "And the suit," he continued, "it works by connecting to our nervous system, right?" "Precisely. It creates a feedback loop between pleasure and obedience, pain and resistance. Quite brilliant technology, though I say it myself." Tom forced himself to crawl closer to her, fighting his pride. "Could you show me how it works? The technical side, I mean. I fix computers back home, so I find it fascinating." Lisa's purple eyes lit up. She loved when her pets showed interest in her work. She knelt beside him, pulling up holographic diagrams. "See these patterns? They match your brainwaves, creating a perfect sync between." Tom moved faster than he thought possible. He lunged forward, hitting the device on her wrist. There was a crack, a spark, and suddenly the suit's pressure vanished. "No!" Lisa shouted, but Tom was already running. His legs felt wobbly after days of crawling, but adrenaline pushed him forward. He burst through doorways as they appeared, not caring where they led. Behind him, he heard Lisa's voice over hidden speakers, "Fascinating. The first escape attempt in all my years of research. But where do you think you're going, my pet?" "Good question." The house seemed endless, rooms shifting and changing as he ran. But he'd noticed something during his days here, patterns in how the rooms connected, a logic to their movement. "The entry chamber," he muttered. "It has to be near." Suddenly, he was there, the room where they'd first arrived. The walls still pulsed with color, but now they looked menacing rather than beautiful. "Impressive," Lisa said, materializing in front of him. "You've actually managed to map the house's layout. Such a clever puppy." "I'm not your puppy," Tom growled. "And I'm leaving." Lisa smiled that perfect smile. "Are you? And how exactly do you plan to get back to Earth?" "The teleportation controls are coded to my biosignature." Tom's heart sank. She was right. Even with the suit's control broken, he was still trapped. "But you know what's really fascinating?" Lisa continued, walking toward him. "You could have tried this days ago. The suit's influence was always weakest in the morning, before daily calibration. You noticed, didn't you? But you waited until now." "Why?" Tom backed away. "I needed to understand how everything worked first." "Exactly." Lisa clapped her hands in delight. "You gathered data, formed hypotheses, tested theories, you turned my experiment around on me. Oh, the council will love this." "The council?" Tom froze. "What do you mean?" Lisa's smile widened. "Did you think this was just about studying human pets?" "No, Tom. This was a test of human adaptability, problem-solving, and resistance to control. And you've performed brilliantly." The room began to shift, walls melting away to reveal a massive chamber filled with alien beings. They sat in tiered seats, like a cosmic amphitheater, all watching with multifaceted eyes. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Lisa announced proudly. This human has demonstrated exactly why Earth should be considered for membership. Even under direct neural control, he maintained his capacity for independent thought and strategic planning. Tom's head spun. This was all a test. Of course. We needed to know how humans would respond to attempts at domination. Other species submitted easily to superior technology, becoming little more than drones. But humans. She gestured at Tom. You fight. You think. You adapt. You turn weakness into strength. The aliens in the audience made sounds of approval, their bodies shifting colors in what Tom assumed was applause. So what now? He asked, still not sure whether to believe any of this. Now? Lisa's purple eyes sparkled. Now you have a choice. Return to your old life on Earth, or stay and help us understand more about humanity. As a research partner this time, not a test subject. Tom looked at the assembled aliens, then back at Lisa. A week ago, he was fixing computers in a tiny apartment. Now he was standing before a galactic council, being offered a chance to represent his entire species. Partner, he asked carefully. No more commands? No more suit? No more suit, Lisa confirmed. Though. She smiled mischievously, you seem to enjoy some aspects of it. Tom felt his face flush, remembering the pleasure of those rewards. That was the suit's influence. Was it? Are you sure? Lisa tilted her head. Perhaps we could design some new experiments to find out. As equals, of course. The council watched, waiting for his answer. Tom stood before the Galactic Council, his mind racing. Lisa's offer to become a research partner seemed too good to be true. After all the manipulation and control, could he really trust her? Before you decide, Lisa said, reading his thoughts, let me show you what partnership truly means. She waved her hand, and the chamber transformed. Suddenly, they were standing in what looked like a massive research facility. Aliens of various species worked alongside humans, all wearing normal clothes, no control suits in sight. This is our main research center, Lisa explained. We have humans here already, working with us voluntarily. But none of them have experienced what you have. None understand both sides of the experiment. A tall, blue-skinned alien approached them. Is this the specimen? It asked in a deep, rumbling voice. This is Tom, Lisa corrected firmly. And he's no longer a specimen. He's proven himself worthy of full partnership status. Tom noticed the change in her tone. Gone was the condescending sweetness she'd used when treating him like a pet. Now she spoke with respect, even pride. The data from your resistance is remarkable, the blue alien said, pulling up holographic charts. Your brainwave patterns during the escape attempt, we've never seen anything like it. You see, Tom, Lisa continued, humans have something unique. When other species face superior technology, they either submit completely or fight blindly. But you played along, learned the rules, then used them against us. That's exactly what we need. Need for what? Tom asked, still suspicious. The blue alien's expression turned grave. There are threats in this galaxy that cannot be fought with technology alone. Species that think differently, that operate on pure instinct and chaos. Our logical approaches fail against them. We need human unpredictability, Lisa added. Your ability to think outside normal parameters, to find solutions where we see only problems. But we needed to test that ability under extreme conditions first. Tom looked around the facility. Through transparent walls, he could see laboratories filled with incredible technology. In one room, humans and aliens worked together on what looked like a star map. In another, they studied creatures that seemed made of pure energy. And if I say no? He asked. If I choose to go home? Then you go home, Lisa said simply. Return to fixing computers, watching sci-fi movies, eating leftover pizza. We'll find another candidate. Though, she smiled, they might not be as interesting as you. The blue alien stepped forward. Before you decide, there is one more thing you should see. A new hologram appeared, showing Earth from space. But something was wrong. Dark shapes moved in the planet's orbit, barely visible against the blackness of space. They're coming, the alien said. The Chaos Bringers. We've held them back so far, but our traditional defenses are failing. We need new perspectives, new strategies. We need humans. Tom felt the weight of the choice pressing down on him. Return to his safe, boring life, or stay and help defend Earth from a threat it didn't even know existed? If I stay, he said slowly, I want guarantees. No more control suits. No more tests without my consent. And I want to understand everything, the full truth about these threats, about your counsel, about why you really chose me. Lisa's purple eyes met his. Agreed. Though I should warn you, the full truth might be more than you're ready for. Try me. She nodded to the blue alien, who pressed something on its wrist. A door appeared in the air, glowing with that familiar purple light. Through there is my real research facility, Lisa said. Not the playhouse where we tested you, but the place where we're actually preparing for what's coming. Once you see it, there's no going back to your old life. Not really. Even if you choose to return to Earth, you'll know what's out there. Tom looked at the door, then back at his reflection in the facility's walls. He barely recognized himself anymore. A week of being treated like a pet should have broken him, but instead, it had made him stronger. Smarter. More determined. Before I decide, he said, answer one question honestly. Was any of it real? The control, the training, the way you treated me, was it all just an act? Lisa's perfect smile faltered slightly. The experiment was real. The data we gathered was real. But my role, let's say I might have enjoyed playing the part more than strictly necessary for scientific purposes. Tom felt his face flush, remembering the pleasure of those rewards, the strange comfort he'd found in submission. And if I stay? Then we explore that dynamic on equal terms, she said softly. No control suits needed. The blue alien cleared its throat, or whatever passed for a throat among its species. The door won't stay open forever. Tom took a deep breath. Through that door was either the greatest adventure of his life or the biggest mistake he'd ever made. But standing here, looking at the hologram of Earth with those dark shapes lurking above it, did he really have a choice? He stepped toward the door. The moment Tom stepped through the purple doorway, he knew there was no turning back. The research facility they'd shown him before had been impressive, but this was beyond imagination. They stood in a vast chamber that seemed to exist between dimensions. The walls, if you could call them that, shifted between states of matter, solid one moment, liquid the next, then pure energy. Beings of light and shadow moved through the space, their forms too strange for human eyes to properly process. Welcome, Lisa said, to the true heart of the Galactic Council. The blue alien beside them shifted form, its humanoid appearance melting away to reveal a creature made of crystalline structures and pulsing energy. Now you see us as we really are. Tom looked at Lisa, half expecting her to transform too, but she remained unchanged. You're still human? She smiled. Not exactly. But this form isn't a disguise, it's a choice. Each of us learns to exist in whatever state best serves our purpose. As they walked through the chamber, Tom saw things that challenged his understanding of reality. Rooms where time moved backwards, spaces where physics seemed optional, and windows that looked out onto impossible landscapes. The Chaos Bringers, Tom said, remembering the dark shapes above Earth, they're like you? Higher dimensional beings? No, Lisa's voice turned hard. There's something else. Something that shouldn't exist in our reality. They don't just break rules, they unmake them. They reached a central platform where hundreds of screens floated in the air, each showing a different world. Tom recognized Earth among them, but also saw planets with green skies, binary star systems, and places that seemed to exist in more dimensions than he could comprehend. Every civilization reaches a point, the crystalline being explained, where they must choose between evolution and extinction. Earth is approaching that point faster than any world we've monitored. Because of the Chaos Bringers? Because of humanity's potential, Lisa corrected. Your species developed something unique, the ability to impose order on chaos while still maintaining chaos within yourselves. You create rules, then break them. Build systems, then revolutionize them. It's maddening, fascinating, and exactly what we need. Tom watched a screen showing New York City, his home. From this perspective, he could see patterns in the traffic flow, the movement of people, the pulse of the city itself. It was both chaotic and organized, random and planned. So what exactly would I be doing here? He asked. Lisa gestured, and a new door appeared. This one opened onto a smaller room that looked surprisingly normal, almost like his old apartment, but with subtle differences that marked it as alien. You'll live here, work with us, help us understand human perspectives. And she hesitated, continue our previous research, if you're willing. Tom felt his face grow hot. You mean the control experiments? As I said before, on equal terms this time. We've learned that human power dynamics are more complex than simple dominance and submission. The way you fought against control while simultaneously finding comfort in it, it's a paradox we need to understand. The crystalline being made a sound like wind through caves. Many of us find human relationships incomprehensible. The mixing of authority and affection, control and care. If we're to work together effectively, we need to understand these dynamics. Tom looked at the room, his room. On a desk sat a silver collar, similar to his old suit but smaller, simpler. The collar is a choice, Lisa said softly. Everything from now on is a choice. That's what makes humans special, you always have a choice, even when it seems like you don't. And what about Earth? The Chaos Bringers? We'll face that challenge together. Your experience as both controller and controlled gives you unique insight. You understand both sides of power now, how to wield it, how to resist it, how to turn it back on itself. Tom picked up the collar, feeling its weight. A week ago, the idea of willingly putting on a control device would have seemed insane. But now, the difference between control and cooperation, he said slowly, is choice. Lisa nodded. Exactly. And sometimes the strongest choice is choosing to submit, on your own terms. The crystalline being's lights pulsed. We must prepare. The Chaos Bringers grow closer, and we need humans who understand both order and chaos. Tom looked at the collar in his hands, then at Lisa. Will you teach me? Everything you know about your world, your science, your powers? Yes, she said. And you'll teach us about humanity, your strength, your adaptability, your impossible paradoxes. The screens around them showed more dark shapes appearing near Earth, but now Tom saw them differently. They weren't just threats, they were puzzles to be solved, challenges to be met with both logic and instinct. He lifted the collar. 6 months had passed since Tom made his choice. The collar around his neck was now as familiar as his own heartbeat, but it wasn't a symbol of control anymore, it was a reminder of the power of choice. Ready? Lisa asked, standing beside him on the observation deck. Below them, Earth glowed blue and green against the darkness of space. The Chaos Bringers' ships hung in orbit like dark stars, more numerous than ever. As ready as I'll ever be, Tom replied, touching the collar. Though I still think this plan is crazy. Of course it's crazy, Lisa smiled. That's why it might work. The past months had transformed them both. Lisa had learned to embrace chaos, while Tom had discovered order within himself. Their relationship had evolved into something unique, part partnership, part power play, all built on mutual choice and understanding. The council is in position, the crystalline being, who Tom now knew as Max, announced, its light patterns showing excitement. All human operatives are standing by. Across Earth, hundreds of people like Tom, those who had been tested, trained, and chosen to join the Galactic Council, waited for the signal. Each wore a collar like his, each had made their own choice to serve. Remember, Lisa said, the Chaos Bringers feed on rigid order. They seek out civilizations that have become too structured, too predictable. That's why they fear humanity. Tom nodded. Because we're walking contradictions. We create order from chaos while maintaining chaos within order. Exactly. And today, we show them what that really means. The plan was insane, exactly the kind of thing only a human would suggest. Instead of fighting the Chaos Bringers with advanced technology, they would use the power of choice itself, specifically, the choice to embrace both control and freedom simultaneously. Initiating sequence, Max announced. Tom felt the collar warm against his skin. Around Earth, hundreds of others felt the same sensation. But unlike before, when the suits had forced compliance, this was different. Each person consciously chose to sync with the network, creating a web of willing submission that paradoxically generated incredible power. Part 7, The Final Evolution. 6 months had passed since Tom made his choice. The collar around his neck was now as familiar as his own heartbeat, but it wasn't a symbol of control anymore, it was a reminder of the power of choice. Ready? Lisa asked, standing beside him on the observation deck. Below them, Earth glowed blue and green against the darkness of space. The Chaos Bringers' ships hung in orbit like dark stars, more numerous than ever. As ready as I'll ever be, Tom replied, touching the collar. Though I still think this plan is crazy. Of course it's crazy, Lisa smiled. That's why it might work. The past months had transformed them both. Lisa had learned to embrace chaos, while Tom had discovered order within himself. Their relationship had evolved into something unique, part partnership, part power play, all built on mutual choice and understanding. The council is in position, the crystalline being, who Tom now knew as Max, announced, its light patterns showing excitement. All human operatives are standing by. Across Earth, hundreds of people like Tom, those who had been tested, trained, and chosen to join the Galactic Council, waited for the signal. Each wore a collar like his, each had made their own choice to serve. Remember, Lisa said, the Chaos Bringers feed on rigid order. They seek out civilizations that have become too structured, too predictable. That's why they fear humanity. Tom nodded. Because we're walking contradictions. We create order from chaos while maintaining chaos within order. Exactly. And today, we show them what that really means. The plan was insane, exactly the kind of thing only a human would suggest. Instead of fighting the Chaos Bringers with advanced technology, they would use the power of choice itself, specifically, the choice to embrace both control and freedom simultaneously. Initiating sequence, Max announced. Tom felt the collar warm against his skin. Around Earth, hundreds of others felt the same sensation. But unlike before, when the suits had forced compliance, this was different. Each person consciously chose to sync with the network, creating a web of willing submission that paradoxically generated incredible power. Phase 1, Lisa commanded. Every collar activated at once, but instead of controlling their wearers, they amplified their natural chaos. Hundreds of human minds, each thinking differently, each making unique choices while remaining part of the whole, created a psychic storm that rippled through space. The Chaos Bringers' ships shuddered. "They're confused," Max reported. "Their sensors can't process what we're doing. It doesn't fit any known pattern." "Phase 2, Lisa called. Now the collars synchronized their wearers, but not through force. Each human chose to move in harmony, creating a dance of order within chaos. The energy pattern shifted, becoming structured yet unpredictable. The dark ships began to retreat. "They can't understand it," Tom said, watching the screens. "Their whole existence is based on destroying order, but we're showing them something new, chosen order, voluntary harmony." "Phase 3, Lisa whispered. This was Tom's idea, the crazy human touch that might just save everything. Every collar wearer focused on a single thought: invitation. Instead of fighting the chaos bringers, they invited them to join the dance. The result was spectacular. The dark ships froze, caught between their nature to destroy and this new possibility. Some began to change color, their absolute darkness gaining hints of purple, the same shade as Lisa's eyes. "It's working." Max's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. "They're evolving." The Chaos Bringers had never encountered a species that could hold both chaos and order within themselves. The concept of choosing submission while maintaining freedom broke their fundamental understanding of reality. Tom felt Lisa's hand slip into his. On the screens, they watched as ship after ship transformed, their darkness becoming translucent, then iridescent. The Chaos Bringers weren't being destroyed, they were being offered a choice for the first time in their existence. "The final phase," Lisa said softly. Tom touched his collar one last time, feeling its power. "Together?" She nodded. "Together." As one, every human in the network made their final choice. The collars glowed bright purple, then dissolved into light. They weren't needed anymore, the lesson had been learned. True power came not from control or chaos, but from the ability to choose between them freely. The transformed Chaos Bringer ships descended to Earth, no longer a threat but a new form of life ready to learn from humanity. The Galactic Council screens lit up with data about the changes happening across the galaxy as the news spread. "So," Tom said, turning to Lisa, "what now?" She smiled that perfect smile, but now it held warmth instead of predatory intent. Now we continue our research. There's still so much to learn about human nature, about power, about choice. And us? That's up to you." She held out her hand, a new collar glinting in her palm. "No more experiments, no more tests. Just two beings choosing their own path." Tom looked at the collar, then at Earth below them. He thought about his journey, from ordinary computer technician to humanity's representative in a galactic revolution. From unwilling pet to willing partner. From victim of control to master of choice. He took the collar. "You know," he said, fastening it around his neck, "for a superior alien species, you still have a lot to learn about humans." "Oh?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" Tom grinned. "Like how we tend to turn the tables when you least expect it." Before she could react, he pulled her close and kissed her. For once, the always composed alien researcher was caught completely off guard. Max's crystalline form chimed with what might have been laughter. "More data for the research files?" "No," Tom said, still holding Lisa. "Some things don't need to be studied. They just need to be experienced." Around them, the transformed Chaos Bringers danced in Earth's atmosphere, creating auroras of impossible colors. Humanity's first official contact with alien life would be remembered not as an invasion or a submission, but as a transformation, a lesson in the power of choosing both control and freedom, order and chaos, submission and strength. And in a small room in the heart of the Galactic Council's headquarters, a former house puppy and his former mistress began their own new chapter, proving that sometimes the greatest power lies not in taking control, but in choosing to share it.